Hi everyone, today we are talking about folk tales. I'm going to be giving like a list of my recommendations for books on the subject, so let's get into it. So, first of all, Sirens, Selkies, and Ghost Ships. Love that book a lot. We love folk tales regarding the ocean. It's a very magical place. I've mentioned it before in other videos, but another really good folktale book is Treasury of Folklore, Woodlands and Forests, Wild Gods, World Trees, and Werewolves. If you thought the ocean was magical, just wait until you enter a forest. This book dives into trees, woodland creatures, folk of the forest. Some of these I never even heard of, like moss people. It's really interesting, and learning folklore is just like really fun. I believe that this book is part of a set of 3. So obviously Sirens, Selkies, Ghost Ships, and then this book, Wild Gods, World Trees, and Werewolves. And then book 3, which is a British folklore book. I don't have that one yet, but I do want it. But I want it to buy this one more because it includes the woodland and forests, and I just love the forest. I really do. And speaking of the forest in Folklore and Mythology is one of my favorite folklore books. I love the font in this book, first of all. There isn't any illustrations, however, the vibe of it is just so magical. Like when I read it, I feel like I'm like entering a forest. It discusses forests of the eld, forestry, groves, druids, spirits of the forest, witches, fairies, demons, nymphs, and a lot more. This book just really gives a vibe of entering something that is mystical. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But it's a really great book. And if you are a writer and you need inspiration regarding folklore, then I would recommend this book 100% because I feel like this book kind of takes everything it could really fit in the best way possible and just like put it into one book. I believe this book also was originally published in 1928, so it's also really old. However, it is assembled from an enormous range of sources. Facts, folklore, superstition, myths. It's just a really great book. I believe it also is the first folklore book I bought. But moving on, we have Folktales, which, by the way, Folktales is a series. So the 2 that I have are Orkney Folktales and Highland Folktales. I bought this book, Orkney Folktales, because of the Selkie on the cover. And although I have like a mermaid obsession, Selkies are also so interesting to me. I love the way it's written. I'm not really into storytelling when it comes to like mythology, but this book did it really good. I really love it. Highland Folktales I bought because I think it mentions mermaids, and of course I was like, I need that. Highland Folktales and Orkney Folktales, these 2 are part of the series United Kingdom Folktales, and the United Kingdom Folktales series is literally so many books. It has to be at least 50 books, I'm not even joking, and although I would like to have the full collection, I don't have the room for all those books because I have other books. But if you want to learn about United Kingdom Folktales specifically, then this is a really good series. Just go online and type in like United Kingdom Folktales book series and it'll come up. Orkney Folktales also talks about finfolk and vanishing islands, which a lot of books regarding water creatures never mention finfolk. Or if they do, they mention it with a lot of inaccuracies. I used to have a friend who was into finfolk, and when they told me about it, I was like, what is that? And then I got the book because of Selkies, but also finfolk, and it's really interesting. However, a lot of the folktales you won't find in other books because some folktales are literally part of a certain town, you know? So it makes sense to why this is a book series that is books and books and books long instead of just one huge book. Because when you're in the United Kingdom, it's like you're in a different country sometimes, depending on what town you're in. So it just makes sense that they're all separate books, and it also adds more pages for more in-depth storytelling. But yeah, it makes sense why finfolk aren't really included in other books because finfolk is kind of really specific, I think. But regardless, these are really good books, and if you want the full series, I hope you could get it. because it's a huge series. But lastly, folklore and symbolism of flowers, plants, and trees, with 200 rare and unusual floral designs and illustrations. I got this book because I'm basic, and I really, really wanted a story about the tree from the Garden of Eden. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone knows the story about the Garden of Eden, but I needed a book that talked about it. I don't know why, I just really did. And I was like, well, this one's cool, and it was at Target, so the pages are huge, and it's illustrated, and the book just dives into what each tree might mean and symbolizes. I literally bought it just for the Garden of Eden part. That's literally how far I've read. That's it. Like, my knowledge on this book is that it's good illustrations and it mentions the Garden of Eden. I probably could have just purchased the Bible, but I wanted something else. I wanted a book that talked about what the tree represented. Like, not to offend anybody, but I can't read that, like, old language, you know, like that, like, Shakespearean language or that old Latin. I can't comprehend it. Like, I need somebody to write a book and be like, this is what the tree means, without it sounding like a Shakespeare poem, because I cannot read that. So yeah, this list is very, very short, but it's the only folktale books I really, really have, and they're the only books I really care about that are folktales. There are folktale books that I do want. I might make a wish list video, like books that I want and why. But yeah, that is it for now. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!